Good morning, house guests. Come on in and have a seat. I've got some iced tea for you. This is Emmy, your favorite traumatized, undomesticated podcast host, and I am pouring it today. We are revisiting Blake Lively's mentioning of weight, I shall say, or weight complaints, as she's mentioned this and several times. I know we've covered this before, but we're just going to go a little bit more in depth today with some more of the exhibits and some other things that I found. All right. So, how is everybody doing this morning? Let me just add this real fast. Okay, so this is regarding this is the 30 point in the original complaint, right? And it talks about no more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to BL trainer without her knowledge or consent to disclose her weight. That was one of her complaints. As she mentions here in paragraph 103, we'll start off with, while on the hand, Mr. Baldoni was objectifying Miss Lively as a X object. On the other hand, he went out of his way to message criticisms of her age and weight, neither of which she could change during filming. On the second day of filming, for example, Mr. Baldoni made the rest of the cast and crew wait for hours while he cried in Miss Lively's dressing room, claiming social media commentators were saying that Miss Lively looked old and unattractive based on paparazzi photos from the set. Miss Lively tried to reassure him that she should look authentic in the scenes depicted in the photos, which were just after her character had been abused by her fictional husband rather than hot. Mr. Baldoni, however, appeared focused on Miss Lively's actual appeal above all else. His lengthy outburst caused a delay in shooting, forcing an emotional scene to be shot haphazardly. Let me see. Was that it for that one? And this is the infamous trailer scene that we'll go over in another video. Oops. I'm talking about this complaint. There. Sorry about that, guys. And when it comes to weight per the timeline, we'll start with April 22nd, 2023, in preparation for a lift sequence in which Baldoni's character Ryle would lift Lively's character Lily. Baldoni reached out to his personal trainer, a close friend of Lively's, to ask what Lively weighed so that he could train his back muscles for the scene. This was important to avoid injury, not only to Baldoni, who has suffered from lifelong back injuries, multiple bulging discs, and chronic pain, but also to Lively if the lift could not be completed successfully and safely. Script pages of the lift scene are included below. Lively would later claim in her complaint that the scene did not exist. However, as evidenced by the script pages, and also a video in which Baldoni is rehearsing the scene with a body double, the scene was very real. April 25th, 2023, Baldoni was summoned by Lively to her penthouse and greeted by Reynolds, who swore at Baldoni and accused him of fat-shaming his wife. How dare you, fluffing, ask about my wife's weight? What's wrong with you? The tone from Reynolds and Lively was so aggressive that Baldoni felt he had no choice but to offer repeated and completely unwarranted apologies for what was a good faith and reasonable question to his trainer, not Lively. Reynolds demanded that Baldoni remove the lift scene entirely. In Lively's complaint, she falsely states that the scene wasn't even in the film, suggesting it never existed. Contrary to her attempt to manipulate verifiable facts, the only reason the scene was not in the film is that Lively and Reynolds demanded it be removed, despite the fact that it had already been rehearsed with a stunt double. Accommodating Lively, Baldoni rewrote the scene with her, despite the fact for creative reasons, he felt the scene was necessary. Baldoni was stunned by Lively's accusation because when Lively had earlier expressed concern about her postpartum figure on February 17, 2023 and February 24, 2023, Baldoni gently reassured her that she did not need to worry about her body. In fact, it was Lively who insisted that she be fit for the role, despite Baldoni's assurances. In this meeting where Baldoni was aggressively confronted by Reynolds and Lively, Lively told Baldoni that if he could not get on board with how she works, he still had 2 weeks to recast her. So that was in April. Let me see this other slide. And actually, let me check in with the chat real fast. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Sandy. So we're just reviewing the weight for all those who have just tuned in, or her weight complaint and the components. So it does look like, according to Jamie Heath's compilation timeline, I'm going to call this the compilation timeline, somewhere between 4/21, 2023 and 4/24, Justin had a phone call with Blake's trainer and asked about her weight. And then somewhere around 4/2025, so I'm guessing between these two dates, which would be 4/2025, Justin had the conversation with Blake in writing regarding her weight. Justin went over to Ryan and Blake's penthouse, and Ryan unloaded on Justin how horrible it was that Justin would ask about women's weight. Claimed that JB was fat shaming Blake. Justin was completely embarrassed and apologized and even shared some tears. Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman were also present in the apartment at the time. So this is for 4/25. So this one, let me see. I'll show you what I'm seeing. This is Alex Sachs. I believe this is Alex Sachs's testimony. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys. What do you know about the entry on the list having to do with Mr. Baldoni contacting Miss Lively's trainer? I'm assuming the list is either the 30-point or the 17-point. I knew about the incident really right after it happened because Justin asked Jamie and I to come to his apartment, and he walked us through exactly what happened. He was really shaken by it, upset, embarrassed, felt trapped. That would make sense. What exactly did Mr. Baldoni tell you about the incident with Miss Lively's trainer? Well, he said that he had asked the trainer what her weight was because he had a back injury and he was going to have to be lifting her in one of the intimate scenes. And I guess the trainer, I don't even know if the trainer responded, but the trainer took the question and went to Ryan and Blake and told them about it. And what had happened that day was that Ryan and Blake confronted Justin about it. It sounded like they were very upset. Asked him why, how he could possibly do that. Again, I don't remember all the details, but it sounded like it went on for a bit. And then Justin was very upset, so he called Jamie and I to come hear about it. Did Mr. Baldoni, if you know, ever apologize to Miss Lively? I believe he did, but I don't exactly recall. As the producer of a movie in which the lead actor has to lift the lead actress, did you find anything offensive about Mr. Baldoni trying to find out about how much she weighed? Objection. I don't know that I find it offensive. I understand it on a practical level, but she was a woman who had just had a baby and was clearly uncomfortable with her body and her weight. So it was more of an insensitive, stupid question that maybe we could have gotten the answer another way. Wait a minute. Maybe they would have gotten it another way. How are they going to get it another way? By what? Asking who? Taylor Swift? Ryan Reynolds? Who are they going to ask? She felt fat. That was it. She said she needed to lose 20 pounds, right? Yeah, she did. That's what she said. But this was the other way. Yeah. Let me get back to my slide. Okay, and then they take a break. Okay, so this is Lively's like 56 like disputed facts or whatever. So let's take a look at the weight. Let me just go up here. Sorry, I'm just taking some context. And you can see all of this is blacked out. So you can't see it. This is a meeting, but we don't know which one it is. Something disputed. Lively told her husband and her agent about the comment, but does not recall when. February 28, 2023. Huh. Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, wrote something. Okay. 78. On or around April 23rd, 2023, outside the workplace and outside the presence of any Wayfair Studios or Ends With Us movie employee, Baldoni probably asked a personal trainer he had consulted with who was working separately with Lively what Lively would weigh when filming began. And this is according to the Second Amendment and Baldoni's deposition. This is her response to this claim. Undisputed that Baldoni asked Lively's longtime personal trainer how much Lively would weigh when filming began, but otherwise disputed as incomplete and misleading. The cited testimony does not establish where Baldoni was located when he asked Lively's longtime personal trainer about her weight, nor does it identify who was present at the time. The testimony also does not support the assertion that this occurred outside the presence of any Wayfair Studios or It Ends With Us movie employee. To the contrary, Baldoni testified that he shared screenshots of this conversation with Ms. Toskovitz, who was employed by Wayfair as the VP of operations. And this is per his testimony, it looks like, in Heath's. And even it looks like Saldino declaration and Lively's declaration. Here we go into 79. Baldoni, who suffers from chronic back issues, asked in anticipation of a scene in which he was expected to lift her. This is again per his deposition and BL at some point. And she responds, disputed. The cited testimony does not state that Baldoni suffers from chronic back issues, and defendants identify no evidence supporting that assertion. Okay. 80. Documentary evidence shows that Baldoni contemplated including such a scene in the film as late as December 28, 2023. Undisputed that the cited document includes a reference to a scene in which Ryle carries Lily. Lively respectfully refers the court to the full document for its complete contents. Baldoni never made the same comment in Lively's presence or in the presence of any cast or crew member. This is per his testimony or deposition. Her response disputed as incomplete and misleading. The cited testimony does not indicate whether Baldoni made the same comment in Lively's presence or in the presence of any cast or crew member. The 82, the trainer acting on his own decided to share the comment with Lively. This is per Exhibit 82. Disputed. The cited source does not indicate whether the trainer was acting on his own when he decided to share the comment with Lively. And the evidence that Baldoni initiated the inquiry about Lively's weight supports an inference that the trainer shared the question as a result of Baldoni's inquiry and or at his behest. This is a declaration by Saladino. On or about April 25th, Baldoni met with Lively at her apartment. And this is a BL exhibit. Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, and two other famous friends were there. Reynolds chastised Baldoni for commenting on a woman's weight. Deposition. Testimony it cites. Blake's response. Undisputed that Baldoni and Lively met on or about April 25th, 2023, during which time Lively confronted Baldoni about asking her trainer about her weight. So Lively confronted Baldoni. Disputed that two other famous friends were there during this discussion. So were they there or were they not there? Lively subsequently described the meeting to a friend as follows. Looks like her exhibit. Plaintiff response. Undisputed that the quoted language appears in the cited source, but respectfully refers the court to the cited source for its complete contents and disputes any summary or interpretation inconsistent therewith. Lively also alleged that Baldoni shamed Lively for her body and weight by offering to connect her with a specialist in probiotics after Lively caught strep throat, because Lively alleges the expert was instead a weight loss specialist. This is her second amended complaint. Lively has not offered any admissible evidence supporting that claim. She did not discuss it during her deposition. And she has not produced any documentary evidence indicating the expert was a weight loss specialist. Documentary evidence shows that Baldoni discussed Lively's illness with the specialist and not her weight. This is Baldoni's exhibit they're referring to. Plaintiff's response, undisputed as to the allegations of Lively's second amended complaint, and that Lively was not asked about this incident during her deposition. Otherwise disputed, and this is all blocked out. This is Benson. Her, I guess, looks like evidence and her declaration. And then this continues, and we can go into this in another video about the scenes. And let me take a look at this. Okay, I know what this is. Sorry, guys. So, this is a subpoena. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry, chat. I'm ignoring you guys. Asking Blake about her weight would have caused World War III. I totally agree. Sandy Jean says, I'm perplexed as to why Blake took this role so close to giving birth. It just shows how desperate she was to have a Barbie 2.0 moment. That may be true. That is a point. We can go over that too in another video, the closeness. This is a subpoena for Jennifer Benson. Jennifer Benson is who Mr. Baldoni referred her to. Did we go over that one already? But anyway, in it they ask for a production, all documents containing your specialties or focus in weight loss or probiotics. And this looks like she is a integrative holistic health practitioner. I just did a Bing search. And this one, my little note didn't stick here, but this was basically like her, we're on page 58. I'll show you what the title is to this. To be transparent. So this is Plaintiff Blake Lively's responses and objection to defendant's third set of requests for production. So they're asking for a production of something. And this is talks about her weight in 184. All documents and communications concerning her contention that while on one hand Mr. Baldoni was objectifying Miss Lively as an ex-object, on the other hand he went out of his way to message criticisms of her age and weight, neither of which she could change during filming as alleged in paragraph 103 of your complaint. And then you can see Ms. Lively objects to this request on the grounds that it is overly broad, unduly burdensome, and not proportional to the needs of the action, including because it seeks all documents and communications concerning the requested information without limitation. Ms. Lively further objects to this request to the extent that it seeks documents that are not relevant to the allegations, claims, or defenses in the action, nor reasonably calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible evidence. Ms. Lively further objects to this request to the extent that it requires the disclosure of information that Ms. Lively is restricted from disclosing by law or by contract. Ms. Lively further objects to this request to the extent that it seeks highly personal and intimate information about parties that are not relevant to the allegation, claims, or defenses in this action. So, chat, she can complain about it. She can put it in a court filing, but when it comes to the proof is in the pudding, she doesn't want to show any of it. It's like her garden variety, whatever, emotional distress moment, because if she had nothing to hide, in my opinion, why would she want to fight this hard? And when it comes to probiotics and weight loss, this is Forbes. I know it's not Mayo Clinic, but I agree with it, and it's easy to read and it's quick and dirty. So I'm just going to get to it. So, probiotics aren't guaranteed to have you lose weight. There's some evidence that probiotics could help, but you got to be paired with a balanced diet and regular physical activity. And there still needs research to be done. So this person probably isn't going to recommend, in my opinion, a probiotic. Maybe a probiotic might help with like bloat. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. But she clearly didn't want to have any evidence to that. Good morning, Wrath. How are you? So when it comes, we were just talking about Blake Lively's weight, and they did know that the weight was going to be an issue or a point of contention, which is why they wanted it covered in the timeline. And this is 6/17/2024. So they're preparing for that. So keep all of this in mind, right? There have been no leaks in the press until it starts getting hairy, okay? So this is Exhibit 3, and it talks about on August 9th, 2024, Miss Nathan sent Miss Abel 2 links to articles, one from The Hollywood Reporter entitled "Did Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni have a rift over Ends With Us? Sleuthing TikTokers think so." And on one from the Daily Mail entitled "Disturbing Truth Behind Why Blake Lively and Ends With Us co-stars are feuding with Justin Baldoni." So basically, the Daily Mail article just alleges that Justin Baldoni was chauvinistic and borderline abusive, and discusses other claims, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Miss Abel stated to Miss Nathan, "I can say I've done a lot of work here," and continued, "Nothing about being unsafe. That comment's actual." She concluded, "Thank fluffing God." So this is August 9th, okay? Still no leaks, nothing. And there was no comments about Blake Lively's weight after the whole blow up, right? There is nothing. Oh no, you can't talk about her weight. Well, the weight is all part of the complaint. We have to analyze it. You know we would. You know we're covering every inch of this lawsuit, every word, every sentence, context, exhibits. We're just digging into everything and just picking apart. Why not? Who knows? This case is gonna fall apart so fast. We're not gonna be able to like pick it apart with the jury. Don't look at her in the eye. Yeah, that's another video we'll do. There's just so much. Okay, so that was August 9th, right? So let me take a look at this real fast. Okay. Let me do this real quick, you guys. I'm cheating on the timeline because I think I missed my point. So we know that on February 9th, she did joke that she needed to lose 20 pounds from her goal weight. And of course, Justin didn't like this. Wiley thanks Baldoni for his friendship and support. Again, they admit to the weight loss. March 2023. Wiley shares with Baldoni that she has stroke throat, and Baldoni offers to send her some amazing gut health protocols that help after antibiotics. Lively responds, please. As Baldoni reaches out to his board certified, we already went through that, who Jennifer Benson was, and connects them. Lively shares that they connected, saying she's incredible. Lively later claimed in her CRD complaint that this health coach was actually a weight loss specialist, and this was all a ruse to subtly fat shame her. And we just looked at that, and that seems to be not true. Again, you could see that Blake Lively gets sick a lot, but she's got kids. So, we always get sick with kids, especially when they start school. There's just no hope for humanity in your household. So they were all of that was not talked about in the press. It was kept quiet. It was kept quiet during the 17-point agreement. It was kept quiet during the 30-point agreement. It was kept quiet during phase 2. It was kept quiet during book talk. This issue was all kept quiet, right? Until they said the gloves will come off. And what date was that? Come on, computer, did you freeze on me? August 12th, 2024. WME, Abel, and Heath discuss yet another conversation between WME and Reynolds. WME shares that Reynolds and Lively are furious with Wayfair and Baldoni for positioning them as promoting the film as a Barbie film and elevating Baldoni to speak on the more serious messaging. We went over this yesterday, right? Reynolds and Lively purportedly believe Nathan is responsible for this positioning and demand that Wayfair release a statement of contrition taking accountability for the negative press towards Lively and Reynolds. They warned WME that absent compliance, the gloves will come off. In turn, Reynolds tells WME that he would personally draft a statement to Wayfair to release immediately. And remember, they said no. And remember, we went over this in the marketing video, that On August 14th, Lively shared that she shared that domestic violence hotline number. But do you know what also hit on August 14th was this? Our best friend, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, she felt kissing scene lingered too long, feels he fat shamed her. This was published at 8 o'clock in the morning and it was updated at 3:26 the same day. Blake Lively has told People there were multiple reasons Justin Baldoni made her feel uncomfortable on the set of It Ends With Us, TMZ has learned. Do you remember the hugging and the uncomfortable that we covered yesterday? That was not released to the 17 to 30 point, the second phase or book talk either. But the gloves are now coming off on August 14th, the same day that Blake Lively released the domestic violence hotline Instagram amidst all of the backlash. And now you have this article coming out. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ there was a scene in which Justin lifts Blake into the air. According to our sources, Justin has a history of back problems, and before lifting Blake, he went to his on-set trainer and asked how much she weighed and how could he train to protect his back from injury. Blake later found out about Justin's comment and felt he fat shamed her. We're told the comment really bothered Blake, who gave birth to her and Ryan's husband Ryan Reynolds' fourth child in February 2023. Our sources tell us the second incident made Blake uncomfortable on set when the two engaged in a kissing scene and Blake felt he lingered longer than he should have with the kiss. We broke the story. Casting crew agree there's definitely bad blood between the Into This co-stars, but sources told us Justin's not the clear-cut villain, as some people worked on the film are standing by him. Some sources we spoke to also claimed some cast members are milking the drama to market the film. I wonder who. We reached out to reps for Justin and Blake, for Blake's reps for comment. So far, no word back. And we all know that we were prepared for this, which is why they got TAG on board prior to this. And I really want to show you guys some of their proposal. Talking points for press reflecting the company's core values and key messaging and the integral role they play to bring this film to life. They were already doing that. They weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. Look, monitor coverage and social conversations, correcting and updating stories and headlines in real time. Provide input on specific inquiries and liaise with reporters to mitigate negative stories and correct inaccuracies. Correcting inaccuracies. It's expensive. So let me get back to the chat. Says, yeah, I have 3 kids and I worked with kids and I was constantly sick. Yeah, everybody's sick. I wish Blake would keep quiet. Was this one of the kissing scenes that she wrote herself? She just so she could kiss her with her herpes. Oh my goodness. I don't know, but do you think that they purposely leaked the weight issue and some of the other issues to TMZ to make him look just incredibly horrific? And they utilized this weight as part of, again, to get leverage. But what I'm thinking is the way that Blake Lively seemed to do things, it wasn't just big giant actions, right? I mean, it was more like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Like it was going to be 10,000 little things to just make them look bad and accumulate. Maybe that was their plan the whole time. Maybe it was accumulation and not big impact things. So, what do you guys think? Was it leverage? And if you noticed in the filings, her personal trainer, it looked like there was a declaration. It didn't look like there was a deposition transcript attached to anything that Blake Lively was saying. Just my little noticing of things. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please check out my other playlists, my other episodes. We have like 2 weeks of worth of arguments to dissect and exhibits, and things are getting unsealed by the minute, and we're getting new information, and I am digging and trying to get you the iced tea. So, oh, here's a good one. I want to know when she planned this takeover. You know what? We'll do a video on that because I think there's a lot to that as well. Maybe the takeover was planned in December when they went to go and see if she would be interested in it. You know, because it just definitely seems like it could be out of the Ryan Reynolds playbook, and I think Ryan Reynolds did like a death by 1,000 cuts move. And in this, I think Blake Lively was thinking if there were so many complaints from Sony, then maybe Sony's not going to want to have Justin Baldoni do the sequel, because why wouldn't you capitalize on a book with a sequel with such great numbers that Colleen Hoover has? So what Blake Lively was thinking is that she was probably thinking that there was going to be a sequel, and Colleen Hoover probably thought there was going to be a sequel because Justin Baldoni asked her about the sequel. And as you know, Justin Baldoni was working with No More. And No More, as you know, didn't believe or didn't want to address all of the work and therapy and conditions it would take to have an abuser be in your life and in your child's life. They didn't want to address that. So Justin Baldoni was asking Colleen Hoover the context of the second book. What about the therapy? What about the time? What about the boundaries? What about this? What about that? But in the end, No More said it would have been too much, and it would have been too much, and it's just better to leave. And that's how they ended the book. I mean, that's how they ended the movie. They ended the movie intended that there wasn't going to be a sequel. And when Colleen Hoover found out that there wasn't going to be a sequel, she was like, what the fluff? And was upset with Justin Baldoni. There's a second book. So Justin Baldoni has the rights to the first book and the second book. The second book, it starts with us. There was never a sequel and there was never a script written for the second book because Justin Baldoni never intended for there to be a sequel because the message of domestic violence is to leave and not come back. That is the message that they wanted to convey, was to leave and that person is out of your life forever. There was never going to be a sequel because the second book includes Ryle, Atlas, and Lily co-parenting together with the baby. But Ryle, his fate was changed in the movie, and instead of co-parenting with Lily, he walked away from her and the baby forever. That's why at the end of the movie, you see Lily and the baby, Emmy, on the swing, and Emmy is like toddler age, and Atlas comes, and I don't know what Atlas says, but Lily says it's just us. So there is no more Ryle. So the sequel, which fans probably would have wanted to have Ryle and Atlas and Lily together, but Justin Baldoni ended the script and the story the way that he did because he was working with No More and the domestic violence, thing. There's a specific interview on it, and he does address it. And that is the time when Colleen Hoover is telling him that she's not happy because he's being accused of changing the fate of Ryle and Lily. And yeah, he does. She does. And that's because he needed that message. And I don't hate him for that message. You know what I mean? I will never hate him for that message. I went through an underground railroad because of that message, and it followed me around the world. So I don't hate that message. Um, but Blake Lively hates that message, obviously, because it didn't gel with her marketing campaign. And as you noticed, she went straight to domestic violence on 814, positive story, while there was a negative story about Justin Baldoni. So who is playing what type of marketing campaign? Or are they both playing the same playbook, except Lively is just trying to play dirty? All right, house guests, I'm going to get ready for my day. Please subscribe, follow, and comment. I am trying to plan 2 collaborations with 2 other creators. Keep your fingers crossed. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to jinx myself. But there is another creator and she's from TikTok and she's really, I love her content, and she's like a hawk on these court documents. And yeah, so I'm trying to get with her to do a collaboration. And then I'm also planning on doing a collaboration with Julie from Julie of the Recap, or I believe it's Recap with Julie. So sorry, Julie, for butchering that. And we're going to have a little debate. And of course, I'm going to probably be on the side of the defendants, and she will be on the side of the plaintiffs. And we will duke it out as far as exhibits, and we will mudsling and through exhibits and be respectful and see who has the better argument. So it should be fun. Stay tuned for that. I don't know if we'll do a great job, but with all the evidence that we have, I think that we can change a lot of the pro Lively team by exposing the real truth and putting it in through the evidence and the lens of like, why are there so many issues that need tissues? You know what I mean? Anyways, enjoy your day. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Take a look at my community posts, and I have a whole list and a whole calendar of what's coming up. Yes, Roth, we will do a collaboration together, I promise. All right, guys, like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you later. Bye bye. And you're right, I do have to say this and point this out before. The most dangerous time for a woman in an abusive relationship is when she leaves. So co-parenting was not going to work. Exactly. And like I've said, the craziest times that I've experienced TV with my late husband was when I was leaving. And it's the worst. I've also done an underground railroad. And that was really scary because I was running against time and like a paycheck. Crossed two state lines. He still came, followed. I thought that he let me go, like a Ryle style thing. It turns out that didn't happen, and he ended up stalking me like around the world while I served in the military. So sometimes they really just don't let go in the end, and that's kind of creepy. So anyways, that's a little bit more tea, probably more than what you planned. But again, if you want more, like, subscribe, check out my paranormal playlist. Those have a lot of personal experiences as well, if you really want the lowdown cold tea. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, house guests. Bye bye.